Today we're going to talk a little bit about a little bit more on the painting side. I've had a few questions about my painting approach, and so I thought I'd talk a little bit more about that and maybe do some examples. Um, the two basic painting approaches for me are one about putting down a shape that I'm thinking about in the illustration. I will paint down a rough idea of the shape like we did with the self-portrait. You can have a look back at the self-portrait one where we basically painted down some kind of shape of a head, and then we put all the colors around, and then we built the ink on top of that, and then we finalized with the ink. Um, and the second one is to actually do an illustration and to apply the paint in a more kind of, okay. So two examples for you. One is this one I've just finished. It was for a political magazine, and it's basically drawing the ink line and then going in and touching up the paint around it to kind of give it that kind of more magazine illustrative appeal to it. So that's a very much about doing the ink line, happy with the illustration, and then going in and touching up in color. Okay, so that is one method of doing it, and the second method is to do these splashes. And I do these sometimes as an exercise, um, to kind of open my mind a little bit and give more, kind of open that side that's a little bit more expressive. And what I will do is I will do a shape like that or like that, and then when it's sitting around on the side, I will kind of be looking at the piece and I'll go, oh, that looks like, I don't know, that looks like, I mean, to me it kind of looks like a man's face with a large tongue, you know? And if you see that from a distance, you'll kind of think, hey, that could be really, that could be a, that could be a man with his tongue sticking out, and oh, I love that. And then you have, in fact, I'm starting to see that already. I'm starting to see that already. Maybe I'll do that as part of today's exercise. Um, I'm starting to see that coming through now. And that's really so exciting to see that. And I've done the same type of thing with this type of idea that I'll paint down. This was an idea I had for maybe like a witch or something, and she has a cat, and maybe I could even use that also. Maybe I can do a couple today. And what I do is I put down colors that kind of indicate an idea of a painting, and then I kind of build onto that. So there's a couple of processes there that I use, and each one is a very, very, very different approach. One is a very clean, clear. You draw it and you add the paint, and the second is feeling the paper, putting down some paint, putting down some color, whatever you feel, and leaving it and coming back to look at them. I've got loads of them all over the place, and sometimes you just find something in it and it excites you. And the other one is basically painting down a shape of something that you've had in your mind and then building on that. Now, the most important part about this painting process, and it's the biggest it's the biggest fear for me, is this thing that I like to call the ugly stage. Okay, it's called the ugly stage because you paint and you draw and you get to a point where you hate it so much you wish that lightning would zap from the sky and set fire to it or something. um, it's the stage where you've been working hard on something and you feel it's dead. You feel you can't go any further with it, and that is something that's very difficult to deal with, and that's sometimes where I kind of lose it a little bit. I I can't hold it too long, and I just kind of throw it in the bin and think, ah. And what happens with that is that you've kind of got to this stage, like if you don't go past that, you've only gone halfway of the journey. It's kind of like Three Billy Goats Gruff. Everybody knows the story, right? All these goats are on one side and they want to go to the other side. And they have to cross this little bridge. And on this little bridge comes up this huge, big, hairy, ugly beast and scares them. The ugly stage is that beast on the bridge. You've done your main hard work. You're moving through the process of getting to the bridge. You've got some of the colors coming in. You get hit by this ugly beast. And this ugly stage stops you from going any further. It does. It happens to me all the time. I shouldn't admit that, but it does. And I've found that if you can just give it time, okay? Give it time to sit. And once those colors have kind of dried out and they've kind of begin to find their own form on the paper, you will come back to it at a later stage with new eyes. Example like that. And so I would like to go a little bit into this ugly stage. The except for the political cartoon. Where is it? That one. That one is a finished piece, and it worked out okay. It worked out as a final piece. I'm quite happy with it. I will send it off to for the magazine, and I'm happy with that. That's a more illustrative example, and it works. And then we have the two examples like what I just showed you. And these are both the ugly stage. This is kind of like, oh, I give up. I give up on that and I give up on that. And now it doesn't mean that they're going to come into being a masterpiece at the end. But I've already started. I've already put something down. And there's something that's calling me about those. And I really want to try and take it to the next stage. So let's use this as a very good exercise for the mind. And we can try and work on some of those pieces today. I'll try and finish them today. I'll do the two pieces. I didn't think I was going to be doing two pieces, but we may as well since I've just pulled them off the floor. And we'll work into them and see what we come up with. They might turn out to be a waste of time, and they might turn out to be something really interesting. The best example of that is when I was doing some cups for the shop. I'd done a book on cats, and I was trying to take some of the cats into designs for the mugs. And when I was doing the book, I actually did this cat, and I don't know. I painted it, and it felt quite okay, and then it fell apart. For whatever reason, I hated it. And I put more paint on, and I put more paint on, and I put more paint on, and I put more paint on to hide that paint, and more paint on to hide that paint, and it just became this mess. And I had actually just thrown it in the bin. I got so fed up with it, I threw it in the bin. And I was on a video talk with someone, and I remember them saying, "What's that?" And I turned around and I thought, this stupid thing was sticking out of the bin, and they could see it on the video chat. And they were saying, oh my God, that's beautiful. Can I have a look at it? And I was like, oh, no, it's not really working out at the moment. And I showed it to them, and they were so excited about it. And I was just like, how can you be excited about this? This is dreadful. And they were so excited about it, and they loved it so much that I decided, okay, okay, maybe the ugly stage was a little bit later than I felt. Maybe I'd kind of given up too early on it. And I gave it a little bit more of a very slight fix up, and it worked. And that became Stoner Cat in my on my shop and in my book, and it worked. And it actually is one of the most popular cups. For some reason, I I cannot work it out. I mean, I like it, but it's for people that's like their favorite one. It's like, so in the end, I'm very very happy that I did fix it and it did work out. So let's have a little bit of fun today and a little bit of see what we can do with the ugly stage. Okay, and this is something that I hope you're keep in your mind when you're working on something. If you seem to get a little bit lost, put it on the side, and then work on something else for a while, and let that ugly stage just settle, and then take fresh eyes the next day and look at it because you'll be surprised. Okay. I might be surprised today when I start doing this. But let's have a go. I'm quite interested now. I've just seen that tongue. I'm quite interested to see what I can do with that. Oh, sorry, my piece of paper's fallen off because the sun is coming through the window too strong. So don't worry about that. So let's explore the mind a little bit and go through this ugly stage together. All right. If you've got an old piece that's sitting on the side that's been driving you crazy and you hate, or an old piece of paper with some kind of scribble on it, pick it up and let's bring it back to life. Okay? Enjoy the video. Thank you very much. Okay, so we are going to try and save this drawing. It was one of those ones, like I explained, that I kind of threw on the side, and I'm going to try to come up with something to save it. I have absolutely. This was one that I kind of planned on being amazing, and it didn't. So I thought I'd try and finish. I had this idea of a witch, and I painted down a kind of a body. Or what I thought was a body. And it didn't seem to quite work out. So I'm going to try and save it. In some way possible. If I can. There's two parts of this. There's the two pieces of painting that I'd done, and I'm hoping to at least get one of them to kind of come onto my side of thinking. At least one of them to kind of work. That's a little bit too thick. Let's just pull that. And the idea was that it was going to be a witch. and her cat. I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure about it. But this idea of the ugly stage is really quite an important lesson if you can actually get it to work for you. If you really can, it'd be incredible what you can actually come up with. I find sometimes your mind is working in such a way that it's always kind of racing along, and whether you kind of understand it or not, it is actually trying to help you, and it is. And I think sometimes your mind just kind of leaves. It kind of can race ahead, and you can't really appreciate what you've gone, or appreciate where you've actually got to. And I think sometimes you need to kind of let it sit like a good wine, or that's usually what they explain, isn't it? A good wine. I guess art is like a good wine, isn't it? I don't plan these kind of videos. I don't write out a script for it, as you can see. I don't really plan it. I just come up with like a thing of, oh, let's talk about the ugly stage, and then I go, okay, go, and then I just start talking. So you have to kind of forgive my free flowing chat sometimes. I have very good intentions, but sometimes, well, as you've experienced. Right, still not sure on that. Give me a brush. That will help it along. What's that lovely little blue brush I was using the other day? That was lovely. I sometimes let these brushes sit for so long that they. That's not. That's not doing what I wanted to do. That's why I couldn't find it. I actually washed it. And as you guys know, I'm terrible at washing things. I'm absolutely dreadful at it. Cool. That was that little blue brush. I eventually found it. How many of you are into witches? I'm sure there's some of you out there. So, is there good witches? I'd love to know. Or are you all bad and evil and sneaky and covered in warts? as the image is. It's not one of my best, but let's see if I can do something with the cat. Let's kind of give him some kind of crazy eyes there on the cat. It's very odd that the cat is white. Don't know what I was thinking there, but maybe she thinks he's a good cat. Maybe she thinks he's good, but underneath he's sneaky and horrible. Let's give him some wild, crazy teeth. I love wild, crazy teeth. Well, in my drawings anyway. I bought this scarf the other day, and it has the most incredible smell from it. Maybe it's the way it was sitting in the shop, or whatever kind of perfumes or sprays that they use in the shop, but it smells fantastic. I wish you could smell it. It's just got such an incredible smell from it. I'm very much a person that loves smells. I love pretty smells. I love, like, I buy a lot of like soaps and stuff like that because they basically smell fantastic. It's I know it's very strange for a man to admit that, but I love like super smelly, super kind of flowery or scented things. I love it. That's also probably what you can hear in the background. You can sometimes hear this kind of that's these kind of mechanical sprays that spray scent into the air. So my studio always smells beautiful. My studio kind of smells like a soap shop or something, you know. I know it should smell all inky and painty and stuff, but sadly it doesn't. So if you're watching my videos and you've got some kind of beautiful soapy, perfumey, flowery scent, then it'll make it a little bit more real. Make it more kind of three-dimensional. Usually when people come to my house, they usually jump with a shock when this sprays perfume into the air. Oh, I like the way he's crossed his legs. That's kind of interesting. Well, that's a very odd drawing. Let's get some nice witchy claws going on there. Oh, it's some little spindly hands, isn't it? She's got a little bat around her neck. Just to kind of make it a bit more fun. How does that look to you? It's not an amazing drawing, but it's definitely saved it from being a piece that we throw in the bin. And so far it's kind of getting better and better. Ooh. That's the other arm going down there. Let's get some nice big gnarly claws. Coming down there. And she's just kind of standing there. Maybe she's kind of surprised by this white cat. Maybe that's what's confused her there. Maybe that's what's got her smiling. Oh, that's kind of worked out not too bad, actually. It's all the wrinkles of all the super long cloth. Well, that's kind of funky. And that's the first part of the ugly stage. And what I'll do is I will leave that on the side and I will look at it now and again and I'll see where I can add color to it to pick it up. Obviously it'd be nice to put some color in the face, and things like that. So I will put that on the side for now. And I'll pause the camera for 1 second while I change them over, and I'll bring the other piece back. Okay, thank you. Okay, so part 2 is just this splash of ink that we found on the floor. Oh, another thing is chocolate. These are chocolate bananas. They're all yellow and squidgy inside. So we're going to have a play with this. I kind of see some face there. With a tongue, maybe. So I'm curious to see what I can make out of that. But at the moment, I love this feeling of it. So let's change that nib. Right. So I'm not sure how much you can see or feel from this, but I almost kind of feel like there's a small hat on the top of his head. And I'm just going to go with my feeling. I'm just going to go with whatever my mind talks to me and says, I will just follow. And this I kind of see like some kind of crumpled up old hat. And I've got this idea to just to outline it and to kind of bring it out of its yeah. Oh, there's a thing sticking up there I'm not too sure about, but I can kind of see some kind of angry eye here. And I'm going to try and bring that into it. And this is part of the fun of just kind of I'm not sure what I can do there, but there's a piece sticking there. And I'm just going to I can kind of feel that the ink is kind of soaking into it a little bit. Let's put a little bit of white in there, see if I can get a little bit of a distorted eye coming through there. And see if that dries up for me. Meantime, I can just kind of soak in around it, get some of that grey around it, and that will just soak into the paper. This is his lips. It's got quite a nice kind of feeling to it. I just need to kind of bring in some elements to it. And I usually find with these type of darker images, sometimes they can actually work out to be very interesting, very, very, very special, because it kind of taps into a darker element of your thinking. And usually I don't like to go to that kind of darker side, but when a drawing comes up and it's kind of like begging you to do so, then it's very exciting. That's really come up quite nice. I'm really quite interested in that. This is the tongue. The tongue that I was kind of seeing first. I saw this tongue and I was like, wow. Let's get some of that feeling around that tongue. Be nice to bring up some greys around that as well. It's coming up to be like this, the side of someone's face, and he's kind of sticking out his tongue. It's really quite an interesting image. And that's all come from what we've seen in this thrown away drawing. I think if I can work in some of the highlights to it, I think it might actually come up to be a beautiful, very beautiful image. Let's see if we can just touch up a few highlights and make it a little bit clear, maybe. Highlight there. Cool. There's some very beautiful feelings there with that. I'm wondering if I was to actually add some grey to it there, it might actually feel like a large coat, like he has this huge kind of coat coming across there. I wonder. You see what I mean? I quite like that. Let's see if I can bring some of that grey in without disturbing my drawing too much. Let's see if I can. Just soak up some of that. And then let's take a nice big brush. And this is where it gets very exciting, when you're painting and drawing stuff that you hadn't even thought about, that it's all kind of hidden in the paper somewhere. Right, well what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video and I'm just going to let that dry a little bit. Okay? But you can see basically where it's going. And I'm really beginning to like that a lot. So, yeah, let's put some color on that. Let's get some green maybe. Let's get some green going across the sky there. Just going to spray it down so it's nice and light. Don't want anything too heavy coming in on that. Fantastic. Right, well I'll leave that for 5 minutes and let it dry and then I'll come back to you. So thank you very much for watching today, and thank you very much for taking the time to watch this process, because this is one of the processes I really feel that really needs to have more time. It really needs to for people to really accept that ugly stage and letting us work into that ugly stage. If you were to spend another hour on this, you could have a very, very, very interesting picture. A lot of impact there, a lot of color, and it's very, very beautiful. So I'm very happy. I'm over the moon actually, with a piece of paper and a splash of something that's basically thrown away on the floor to this. Some old man sticking his tongue out. Um, just makes me feel of a very early morning, and I love it. I really love this. Um, Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for constantly giving me the support, and I hope you learned a few little things about the ugly stage today. Thank you very, very much, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye bye. So here is the final drawing. All the processes that we went through. We did all of the splashy, saving the drawing from an ugly stage, and we came up with this crazy guy with a long tongue. I think it kind of worked out kind of fun in the end. Look at that. I think I'm really pleased with it in the end. Worked out fun. We just added some little details there at the end, but I'm very pleased with it. So thank you very much for watching today. I really appreciate every single viewer. So thank you and have a beautiful, beautiful day.